What is going on, everybody? Andrew Steele here. Today I have an awesome story to tell you about this 2002 Fleetwood Fiesta that's behind me. It's been completely remodeled into a mobile meditation studio, and this is my friend Susan.
Hey Andrew, what's up? Hey everybody. Wanted to be able to have an easy way to bring people within a community together to do mindfulness training. And I needed this RV, or I needed a mobile studio to do it. I literally had this idea one day walking down the street. I saw a food truck pass me by and I was like, dude, that's what I'm gonna do. But instead of food, I'm gonna do meditation.
The M2 studio, that was an interesting project. There was a 2000 or early 2000s Fleetwood that we were converting into a meditation studio.
In today's video, we're gonna tell you all about Susan's business, the renovation that the folks at Palacios did. This is a video you're gonna wanna stay tuned for.
2002 Fleetwood Fiesta, and totally gutted and converted it into a mobile meditation studio. And I work with companies and organizations all over Phoenix to do mindfulness training. And we bring the studio on site and offer a place of calm where people can come and learn some mindfulness techniques that help them manage stress, feel better, think better, connect better.
I saw some photos of this coach before you did this entire renovation. So what kind of condition was this coach in? How did you find it? What was the story of how you bought it?
When I knew that I wanted to do a mobile meditation studio, but I wasn't really sure what kind of vehicle was going to support the business best. And I reached out to a lot of other mobile business owners, actually mostly video game truck owners, because I knew they did the same thing, kind of rolled up someplace, parked, had people come on, and they talked about some of the pros and cons. A lot of those owners had even more than one kind of vehicle in their fleet. So I was kind of down to like RV, but I was actually leading with trailer. And then I had reached out, even before I started this project, I knew I needed an awesome partner, otherwise known as somebody who could really take the lead. I didn't have any knowledge. I don't even know how to check the oil on these things. I'd never ever driven one before I bought it. And I found Jesse Pacheco at Palacios Upholstery.
Aside from just making it look like sort of an inviting studio type of place was sound control. She had we put three big AC units on the top of that. So they were really noisy on top of a little Fleetwood coach, you know? So we did a lot of sound deadening and a big ceiling treatment in there just to keep that sound down, and also keep the sound down from the actual airflow. The three 15K AC units move a lot of air, which is really noisy.
And from the get-go, I had a rendering that was actually a trailer rendering, but we sat down and I told him what I was trying to accomplish, and he just seemed to totally understand it. And so he was with me from the beginning, meaning as I was going through and finding different vehicles, I would text him. And so I found this one on Craigslist one day, and I sent it over to him, and he had started to advise me. He said, you know, you're gonna need electrical. I don't have water in here. We actually ripped out all the bathrooms and took out all the water. But, and he's like, you know what? Instead of like starting from scratch with a trailer and putting the electrical in, just start with an RV where it has all that stuff. And then we're just taking away as opposed to putting in. And so on Craigslist, when I found this, I texted it to him. He was like, yeah, that looks good. So this was in 2017 in September. I went and I met the owner, and it had 38,500 miles on it. So this is 2017. So it was already 15 years old at that point. The owner that I bought it from, he was the second owner. I drove it around and I just thought, I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing. I'd never even driven an RV. I was terrified just even driving it around the neighborhood as a test drive. But I bought it. That's what I did. Jesse was like, I think we can work with this. I took it to my auto mechanic. He is personally an RV owner and just an all-around awesome guy. So he also kind of came on board. I always talk about your truck tribe. Now I've gotten calls all over the country from other people who are interested in doing some kind of mobile meditation studio. And when they ask me, like, what was the one thing that you didn't really anticipate that's instrumental in having some kind of online business? And I always say, it's the truck tribe. Because unless you have the skills personally, everything from renovation to maintenance to, I mean, everything. Without those, my generator guy, without those people, you know, I couldn't run my business day to day. Crazy story, which was, I want to say, when was it? It was like February of 2018 or something, maybe a little later. Anyways, there was these crazy storms, and I park my rig actually at a neighbor's house, and it's in dirt. And it was parked, and I went one morning. I had like a double booking. I had to be out in Buckeye at 9 a.m. and then I had to be in Phoenix at 1 p.m. or whatever time it was. And I arrive, it's still dark out, and it had been raining like crazy, and I realized that the RV had sunk in the mud and it was prone to one side. And not only that, but it happened to be parked right next to these steel rebars, and the rebar had actually punctured the RV, the outside. And so of course I was totally panicking. I called Jesse, and even though they're upholstery, like interiors,
Yeah.
Here's an exterior problem. And I took it down there, and he gave me a couple different solutions, but he also knew that I'm like a small business. I don't have a lot of money. And so he said, you know what we're gonna do? We can just build on this plate, just like you have these, some of the plates were here, but they put some of them on when they ripped out the water and stuff like that. It had like created some other stuff, and this is the way they had managed it. So he's like, we're just gonna do that again. We're gonna give you another steel plate. And then I contacted Arizona Color, who did my wrap, and they managed to patch just that little piece of it. And I think, you know, for under $500, I went from having, an impaled RV on steel rebar to like totally fixed, and you can't even tell.
Another great story from Palacios. He saved me when my water tank fell out in my Tiffin too. So there's all kinds of stories about Jesse saving us in these tough situations. Well, why don't we take a look inside?
Okay, so it even starts right here at the entrance.
I think it's been a little over 2 years since we did that conversion on that RV. So it looks like it's aged pretty well.
Tell us about what's going on in here.
What this used to look like and what it looks like now. Okay, so what you're looking at is when you first walked on board, there was the kitchen table right here. And I think the kitchen was right over here. This back was the bedroom, and then the shower and the bathroom was back here. And then there was some, like a living area, right? That's what it looked like. We ripped everything out. So I don't use any water as part of my studio. There's no bathroom here, so you can't come to class and use a bathroom. You got to do it before or after. But we took that out to really maximize the indoor space.
We are in Arizona here, so we do have the AC running and the generator running, but one of the things that they really focused on was keeping it quiet in here. And I know the camera will pick up every little sound, so you guys are gonna hear any background noise, but it's overall really quiet. Do you wanna tell us about what they did?
Yeah, so that was like when I went to see Jesse, and I was just talking about, like as I mentioned, I really didn't know at all anything about RVs or any of it, right? But I knew what I wanted to accomplish. And what I wanted to accomplish was creating a space that was gonna provide people a place of calm and beauty for them to come and do this mindfulness training. So the aesthetics, sound, visual were critical. And temperature, right? We live in Arizona, so it's 1,000,000 degrees, and in the summer we're out on site and it's 110 degrees, and the doors opening and closing with people coming on, and the classes seat up to typically 14 people and a teacher. So there's often at least 15 people in the studio, and that warms it up really quickly. Palacios did a couple things from the get-go when we were talking about the design. So when we put the flooring in, they actually put a layer under the flooring to mitigate vibrations from the generator, as well as insulate sound. And then they came up with this awesome drop ceiling, which the function of the drop ceiling was twofold. One was to provide some sound mitigation, right? So that's why we chose getting what the material is called, but this stuff for the walls, which is pretty common in RVs anyway. But one of the things that we were trying to do is make sure we had a lot of soft corners and fabric all throughout the vehicle to pick up some of this vibration and sound.
We did a lot just to make it quieter in there, especially in the ceiling and in the floor, to keep that AC and generator noise down. Aside from that, she picked all the finishes. Basically just wanted to make it look relaxing and inviting in there. It turned out to be a really cool rig. She's gotten, I think, quite a bit of use out of it, and seems to be pretty happy with it.
I'm in all of these really high-end coaches, and I'm looking really closely, and really the build quality and the finish work that the guys at Palacios did really is as high quality. When I saw the pictures of this coach, I'm like, how in the heck is a coach that's a 2002 this nice inside, but like these valances?
Yeah, so they built all the valances, like those are all brand new. They built those from scratch, and this drop ceiling. Tell me this didn't exist at all, right?
Yeah, this is so cool. Ceiling. It just really.
What we were trying to do was two things. One was, it was part of a distribution of air conditioning too, because people are kind of lined up throughout the coach when they're in here, but also for lighting, right? We didn't want like a lot of harsh lighting coming down, and so this was a way with the LEDs of kind of shooting out the light to soften it a little bit. And then again, the fabric on the ceiling is a way of mitigating noise. Now, what we didn't anticipate with this ceiling, which has turned out to be another good feature, is that these steps were not part of the original plan, so I'll come back to that in a second. But as it turns out, right, so this is 7 inches up, and then here's another 9 inches up. Allow people to sit in these low chairs, but it feels like they're sitting in a regular chair, right, because they're on this platform. Oh, so I was talking about the ceiling, and what one of the benefits of this soft ceiling has been. So once we added these steps, and the awesome thing about adding these steps is it allowed these chairs to become more versatile. So instead of just being these low meditation chairs, which not everybody is comfortable sitting all the way down and getting all the way up, by putting them on these platforms, it allows people to sit in them just like a regular chair. So it just is more accessible for all sorts of different people. That said, once we put a step over there was 7 inches and a step over here that was 9, well, mostly the 7, we lost some height in the vehicle. So what happens, I'm 5'9", and we call this I always say to people, that's the 5'8" and under step, and this is the 5'8" over. So you can see that you bonk your head. So now that it's fabric, every so often somebody does get up and bonk their head, but it's totally no big deal.
Now, I'm 6'2", so I've got a kind of, just a little bit here in the middle of the coach, yeah. But I've been aware and just crouching down a little bit, and it looks like I'm like these chairs. I just want to like sit down in them.
Oh,
it looks so like
a whole story
so
to the
comfortable.
Chairs.
So yeah, what's the story behind the chairs?
Chairs are actually a local furniture maker too. His name is AJ Vitaro, and the website is zenbydesign.com. But he is a lifelong meditator and found the traditional pose for meditating way too physically challenging. So he created these chairs to help support people in kind of an alert but comfortable position. And so they're 9 inches off the ground, and they allow you to sit with your knees below your hips. And then it has back support for kind of graceful, we call it a dignified posture, but you're trying to stay awake, right? But you're trying to be comfortable. He designed the chairs, and like I said, it's just turned out to be amazing, because this platform, I was trying to figure out how to make it accessible for people anyway. And then what ended up happening when I brought the coach in and they started working on it and they demoed the whole inside, what they found back there, which we didn't anticipate, was wheel wells. And so we no longer had a flat surface to put all these chairs on, which was what we needed, the seating. And so it was Palacios and Jesse that came up with this idea to create this stair.
Yeah,
effect.
And it looks so good. Now, how long ago? And this was done like what, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got to stop. I'm gonna sit in one of these. How cool is this chair? And then I've got to also add, I really love the decor pieces that they did on the wall here, but this chair really is as comfortable as it looks. I'm definitely like really.
Isn't it amazing?
And it's nice and cool. Like, we're in like the 90s outside. It's nice and cool here. The generator's running. It's not too warm inside here. It's not too loud with the generator running. I'm really impressed. And the finish work, 2.5 years. Like, I'm a detail guy, so I'm like looking at all the corners and stuff on Jesse's work.
Over 2,000 people come into this truck to take a class over the last 2 years.
Wow.
So when you're looking at this finish, that's 2,000 people walking back and forth. So
wow. When
you pointed out, as you did, that people walk in, and if you're tall, you kind of have to crouch. It's not a huge issue, because basically people are coming on and finding a seat. So they're seated throughout the duration of the class. So really you're only standing to enter and exit.
Yeah, I want to be seated through the duration of this interview. This is a really comfortable seat here, so.
What makes this experience different for people is coming into the studio. We always say, you can practice mindfulness anywhere. You can do it in the bathroom, you can do it in your car, but the commitment, the act of stepping out of your office and coming into this place, which is quiet, calm, beautiful, you have a teacher here leading you through a practice, it just puts people in a totally different frame of mind. We do occasionally get asked, and we do go into conference rooms or other spaces that organizations provide, but it just feels totally different. Like, people come on here and they're like, whoa, no way. So there's both the fact that it's just a pretty space, but also that people can't believe this kind of space exists in this format.
Brings just kind of like a Zen-like feel, just when I walk in, it's like cool, calm, relaxing environment. Folks want to M2 for their services. How can they get a hold of you?
So our website is M2 Wellbeing, the letter M as in Mary, the number 2, wellbeing.com. And go on there and you'll see lots of photos of the studio right when you come, and it's got some contact form on there too. And I welcome you to email me directly, Susan@m2wellbeing.com.
And all of you that have watched the channel a lot know I'm a huge fan of Jesse and the team at Palacio's. They're actually doing some work on my coach right now. I'm actually going to go over there later today and check on my coach. But you know how to get a hold of Jesse Palacios at Scottsdale. He's the one that did the entire remodel on this and just knocked it out of the park. I'm just extremely impressed. Great job, Jesse, team at Palacio. So greatly appreciate all of you watching today's video. I hope you're all having a great day. Thanks again.